Hello everyone, how are you all? After 1 month of vacation, again now I am going to upload a new lecture under the category Phylum Ascomycota. In my previous video, I explained about the classification of phylum Ascomycota according to Ainsworth classification and Hawksworth classification. What I decided was I want to discuss both the classifications. So let us see the first Ainsworth classification, and today I will cover two classes, that is Hemiascomycetes and Plectomycetes, their general characteristics and how they will reproduce and how they will perpetuate under unfavorable conditions. So let us go into the today's lecture. Just let us recap the Ainsworth classification, how he divided the phylum Ascomycota. Phylum Ascomycota further classified into subdivision Ascomycotina. Let me take some pointer so that I can explain very well. He divided the subdivision Ascomycotina into different classes based on, first one is genera lacking ascoma and ascogenous hyphae. If you remind this genera lacking ascoma and ascogenous hyphae, you have to remember the class Hemiascomycetes. And if the fungi are possessing ascoma and ascogenous hyphae, they further divided based on unitunicate and bitunicate nature of ascus and fruit body characteristics. This unitunicate and bitunicate means I covered in my previous video. Let's just go to the previous video and recap that unitunicate and bitunicate nature of ascus and how they will behave while releasing the ascospores. So let us see the classes. If the fungi are having bitunicate genera, they placed under the class Loculoascomycetes. If it is having unitunicate genera, that means inner tunica and outer tunica, they do not separate while releasing the ascospores. So unitunicate genera are further divided into four classes. One is Plectomycetes, Labalbiniomycetes, Pyrinomycetes and Discomycetes. So today in this lecture we will see about the general characteristics of Hemiascomycetes and Plectomycetes. So coming to the class Hemiascomycetes, the name itself indicating that hemi means half. So the fungi which are involved in Hemiascomycetes, they resemble somewhat to the Ascomycetes. That's why the name Hemiascomycetes. So what are the characteristics of the fungi placed under Hemiascomycetes? Mycelium is pseudomycelium or dikaryotic mycelium. Dikaryotic mycelium means it is having the two nuclei within the single cell. Ascocarp is absent or asca are naked. That means ascocarp that is fruiting body will not form in this uh, class Hemiascomycetes. That means asca are produced naked, and asca are not from ascogenous hyphae but formed directly from zygote or ascogenous cells. Means here specialized structures will not form, however the asca directly from zygote or ascogenous cells, and asca release the ascospores by bursting or deliquescing of the ascus. So if there is no fruiting body, then how the asci will release the ascospores? Means with a lot of pressure, by bursting it will release the ascospores. So what are the orders placed under Hemiascomycetes? There are mainly two orders. One is Protomycetales, which is having including the family Protomycetaceae. Under these two genera are there, Protomyces and Protomycopsis, and the second order is the Taphrinaceae, family Taphrinaceae. Here genus is Taphrina. These Protomyces and Protomycopsis, these genera used to cause galls on Umbelliferae members. Anyhow, I am not going to discuss about the disease cycle and what are the diseases caused by these pathogens, because I want to cover those things in a separate lectures as a disease of field crops. So here for your understanding purpose, I will cover about the Taphrina. So coming to the order Taphrinaceae, that is family Taphrinaceae. Order Taphrinaceae includes a single family Taphrinaceae and single genus Taphrina. So Taphrina means in your mind you have to recollect that it do not produce any fruiting body which is having the naked asci and release the ascospores by bursting. So here let us see vegetative part, that is mycelium. Mycelium is a septate containing typical thick-walled binucleate cells called ascogenous cells, and hyphae may be intercellular, subcuticular, or may grow within walls of epidermis. Intercellular means it sends its hyphae for absorption of nutrients from the host cell between the cells, though hyphae will spread between the cells. Subcuticular means below the cuticular layer or below the walls of epidermis. And asexual reproduction is through small oval or spherical uninucleate haploid blastospores that bud from ascospores either within the ascus or after their release. That means the blastospores are produced from the ascospores. In this figure you can observe that here these are the ascospores, and here you can see budding of the ascospores. That means these blastospores are produced from the ascospores within the ascus, or after release of ascospores they can produce the blastospores. Blastospores is nothing but conidia, because these are the produced through asexual reproduction. Generally we call blastospores as conidia. And ascocarps are not produced, that is there is no fruiting body, and asci are naked, means they are produced directly on the epidermal layer of the host cell. Sex organs are not formed, that is no antheridium and ascogonium. Asci are formed from spherical binucleate ascogenous cells, and they are unitunicate asci, that is unitunicate, which do not separate, that is inner tunica and outer tunica do not separate while releasing the ascospores, and tip of the ascus burst at the time of liberation of ascospores. Examples under Taphrinates are the Taphrina deformans, which cause peach leaf curl. Here you can see in the picture how this Taphrina deformans causing the leaf curl in the peach plant. And another most important example is Taphrina maculans, that is leaf blotch of turmeric. Here you can see how much big blotches are causing this Taphrina maculans. These are the two important diseases caused by Taphrina. Here in this picture we can observe that production of this ascus on the epidermis. This is vertical section of upper surface of peach leaf that showing the layer of epidermal cells and compact palisade layer of asci, some containing ascospores. Here you can see some asci containing ascospores, whereas some are not. And here you can see budding of the uh, ascospores. They will give rise to blastospores, that is conidia, either within the ascus or after release from the ascus. This is the secondary budding, and here germination of ascospores. And for your understanding point of view, I am giving the life cycle of this Taphrina species. Here, if we start from here, that is the infected leaf and healthy leaf, you can see how the healthy leaf is looking and how the infected leaf is looking. And infected leaf on the epidermis layer itself, the naked asci will produce and they will release the ascospores. Here you can see the ascospores, and they will give rise to blastospores through budding. Blastospores is nothing but conidia. Here they will undergo overwintering, that is during unfavorable conditions they do not germinate. They will undergo overwintering season, and after return of favorable conditions they germinate and give rise to the mycelium. In case of favorable conditions they give rise directly to the mycelium, and this mycelium penetrates through the host cell for absorption of nutrients, that is intercellular mycelium or subcuticular or epidermal. I already told this point previously. So coming to the next class, plectomycetes. In plectomycetes, we have to remember one thing in our mind, that plectomycetes means they will produce only fruiting body Cleistothecium. Cleistothecium means that should be the non-osteolate, because it do not possess any opening to release the ascospores. So if you remember the Cleistothecium fruiting body, what are the characteristics you have to remember? Means Cleistothecium wall is made up of peridium, and the asci will release ascospores through violently. So let us see what are the different characters. Ascocarp is non-osteolate clistothecium because there is no opening to release the ascospores, and asci are thin-walled globose-to-pyriform, that is either pear shape or they may be round, and unitunicate, that means they do not separate. Inner tunica, outer tunica do not separate while releasing the ascospores. Asci are produced from ascogenous hyphae, evanescent and scattered at various levels in the clistothecium. So here indicating that in clistothecium how the asci are arranged. They arranged at different levels. If the asci are arranged in a particular layer, what we call it is a hymeneal layer. But in clistothecium this hymeneal layer formation will never be there and they will scattered throughout the clistothecium. So ascospores are unicellular, released by disintegration of ascus wall. And what are the orders covered under this class Plectomycetes? Erysipelas, single order is there, Erysipelas family Erysifaceae. This is the very most important order because most of the diseases, powdery mildew disease caused by fungi involved under the order Erysipelas. So let us see one by one. What are the characteristics of order Erysipelas? Erysipelas is an exceptional order as it produces clistothecium instead of perithecium. In perithecium, how the asci are arranged? They are arranged in a particular layer, what we call hymenium. But in clistothecium, there is no particular arrangement of the ascus. And members cause a disease called powdery mildew. Why we call the disease caused by fungus kept under the class Plectomycetes as a powdery mildew? Because they produce enormous number of conidia, that is these conidia on the infected host surface, they will give the appearance of white powdery coating. So whatever white powdery coating in the field conditions we are seeing on different crop plants, either cucurbits, any fruit crops, that is because of conidia. So mycelium is hyaline and mostly ectophytic. Ectophytic means it will confine to the epidermal layer. So ectophytic means it will absorb the nutrients from the epidermal layers only. These are the characters. And members are obligate parasites, that means the host should be live. Obligate parasites means they cannot survive without the host, and nourishment through haustoria. Haustoria is a specialized modification of the mycelium to absorb the nutrients from the host tissue. So this modification of mycelium I covered in my previous lectures. Just go and watch those videos for understanding these things. And asci are persistent, globose to pyriform, and explores at the time of release of ascospores. What are the important plant pathogenic genera included under the order Erysipelas? Erysife, Levulula, Phylactinia, Uncinula, Spirotheca, Podospira and Microspira. These 7 are the genera included in this order Erysipelas. But we have to remember all these genera names for examination point of view and disease causing point of view, because they used to cause very most important and dangerous diseases. And coming to the somatic characters, generally when we study the general characteristics of any order or class, means we have to remember somatic structure, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, and the spores. So coming to the somatic characteristics, mycelium is well developed septate, uninucleate means having single nuclei, and profusely branched, entirely superficial. Superficial means ectophytic, that is confined to the superficial layers like epidermis and cuticle line. Except Levulula and Phylactinia, these two genera we have to remember very importantly, because Levulula will produce endophytic mycelium. That means mycelium will go into the inwards to the cell and to absorb the nourishment. And Phylactinia semi-endophytic. Some of the cells will go inside, some of the mycelium will remain ectophytic. That's why it is semi-endophytic, and produce haustoria into epidermal cells to absorb nourishment. So these exceptions we have to remember. Levulula is endophytic and Phylactinia is a semi-endophytic. Coming to the asexual reproduction generally how it will happen? It will happen through the conidia produced on conidiophores. How these conidia will produce means on the conidiophores. Conidiophore is nothing but branched erect-like structure like it is like a stem. On how the leaves are produced, these conidia are also produced on conidiophores. These conidiophores are long, erect and hyaline. Hyaline is nothing but transparent structure. It look like a translucent structure. That is the meaning of hyaline. And however, we identified some conidial stages in the powdery mildew fungi. That researchers, they identified the three types of conidial stages in the powdery mildew. So let us see what are those three conidial stages in powdery mildew fungi. First one is oidium, second oidiopsis, and three volvulariopsis. And we have to remember one important point here, that powdery mildew conidia, they do not require free water for germination and they can able to germinate at very low humidity levels. And we have to remember these three conidial stages in powdery mildew fungi and do not require water to germinate. So let us see each one by one these conidial stages. First one is oidium. Oidium is also known as acrosporium. Here mycelium is ectophytic and hyaline, and conidia are developed from a flask shaped mother cell, that is spore mother cell. Here you can see here flask shaped mother cell it will develop, and conidia are barrel shaped with flat ends and produced in chains. Here you can see these conidia, they are how they are producing in chains. And conidia are also referred as meristem arthrospores, because meristem arthrospores means how they will form through breaking of the mycelium. Here conidia also, in this second picture you can see how these conidia are produced means through breaking. So fragmentation of hyphae, these conidia are formed through fragmentation of hyphae. That's why these conidia are also known as meristem arthrospores. So in which genera this type of oidium we can find means Ericife, Podospira, Uncinula, Spirotheca and Microspira. They will produce the oidium as conidial stage. That means these fungi produce the conidia in asexual reproduction as oidium conidial stage. Coming to the second, oidiopsis. Oidiopsis, mycelium is endophytic. Mycelium is endophytic means you have to remember one genera. What is it is? Levulula. Levulula, it is endophytic, and conidiophores may be branched or unbranched. Here you can see these conidiophores are branched and here unbranched. Erect, septate, septation will be there in the conidiophore, and hyaline and emerge through stomata. Why these are through emerge through stomata means here mycelium is internal and these conidiophores are emerging through stomata, and conidia are produced singly or cylindrical in shape, and conidia are two types. Here we have to remember two types of conidia are produced in Levulula. One is with blunt tip and another one is pointed tip. Here you can see in the first picture blunt tip conidia and second you can see pointed tip. So there are two types of conidia are produced in oidiopsis stage of conidia. And example Levulula, already I told, where mycelium is endophytic in nature, and Levulula produce the oidiopsis as the conidial stage in asexual reproduction. Coming to the third, Ovulariopsis conidial stage. Here mycelium is partly ectophytic and partly endophytic. It means you have to remember the genera Phylactinia, which is semi-endophytic, and conidiophores are hyaline, septate. Septate means here this separation will be there in the conidiophore, and they are unbranched and bear a single conidium. Here conidia will be produced as a single, not in chains. And conidiophore in some species it is spiral in shape. Here you can see this conidiophore how it is in spiral in nature, and example Phylactinia subspiralis. So these are the three conidial stages: oidium, oidiopsis and volvulariopsis. Conidial stages is over, that is asexual reproduction is over. Now let us see the sexual reproduction, how it happens in the fungi under class Plectomycetes and order Erysipelas. In Erysipelas, some species are homothallic, that is having the same typical type of mycelium, or some are heterothallic, that is different opposite nature. And sex organs we know already, I covered in the Ascus development, that is antheridium and scogonium are the sex organs, and both gametangia are uninucleate, and here Gametangial contact will take place to develop the ascus and ascospores, and fruiting body is a cleistothecium which is produced on superficial mycelium as a result of gametangial contact. Mainly sexual reproduction happens through gametangial contact. And cleistothecia initially they used to be in white color, but in later stages they become black. In some fungus, because cleistothecia is the fruiting body undergo resting stage, that is unfavorable conditions where cleistothecia undergo resting stage. Cleistothecial wall is made up of, already you know that it is a pseudoparenchymatous tissue of several layers, and that several layers of pseudoparenchymatous tissue we call it as a peridium. Cleistothecial wall is made up of peridium. And overwintering of powdery mildew takes place in cleistothecial stage which are resistant to winter conditions. In winter conditions, those are not favorable for the germination of these conidia. So what they will do in our ascospores and ascospores, so that's why they want to undergo the overwintering to survive those unfavorable conditions. After return of favorable conditions, they will germinate and they will give rise to the mycelium. So in case of perennials, if you take perennials which can survive long years, more than 20 years, in such conditions that mycelium also may overwinter in the dormant buds of the host. In case of warm weather, there is no need to undergo overwintering, and main species never form cleistothecia and perpetuate by means of conidia. That is, if warm weather is available throughout the season, then there is no need of formation of cleistothecia and they directly germinate through conidia. So cleistothecia and main purpose is to survive under unfavorable conditions. Here one special feature of this erysipelas is whatever cleistothecia produced, they are having some special characteristic appendages around the cleistothecial body. That is the identification character for some genera under the order Erysipelas. So let us see what are those different characteristic appendages produced on the cleistothecia. Find these appendages means phylacteria. Phylacteria is a semi-endophytic. So here we can see these are the myceloid appendages which gives the appearance of mycelium, and second one is succinately coiled tips or hooked or pointed appendages, and third one dichotomously branched tips where the appendages branch like dichotomous branching, and fourth one with bulbous base with pointed tips, that is bulbous appendages. These are the four types of cleistothecial appendages found in order Erysipelas. So we identified three different types of conidial stages we identified in powdery mildew, and cleistothecial appendages we identified in powdery mildew, and different types of mycelium like ectophytic, endophytic and semi-endophytic. So can we identify a genera based on these characteristics? Okay, let us see how we can identify these genera. So key for identification of powdery mildew genera. So what are those keys? What is the type of cleistothecial appendages? These are the four types, and number of asci in cleistothecium, whether it is a single asci or many asci, type of conidial stage, and nature of mycelium. These are the four characters based on which we can identify the particular genus. So mycelium. Coming to mycelium, ectophytic, endophytic, semi-endophytic. So first we see ectophytic mycelium. If cleistothecia containing single ascus or cleistothecia containing several asci. If cleistothecia containing single ascus, so then oidium type conidial stage. Ectophytic means the oidium type of conidial stage is there, and if it is having myceloid appendages, example Spirotheca, and dichotomously branched appendages, then it will be Podospira. If the cleistothecium possessing several asci, then the conidial stage is oidium type only. Then based on cleistothecial appendages, we can identify the genera. If it is myceloid appendages, then it is Erysipeae, and succinoid appendages, it is Uncinula. Dichotomously branched appendages, the genus is Microspira. So this based on ectophytic mycelium, and the cleistothecium having single ascus or cleistothecium having several asci, then based on cleistothecial appendages we identified that. Then coming to the endophytic. Endophytic means blindly we have to remember the example Libellula. So here many asci are there in the Cleistothecia. And conidial stage, what will be the conidial stage? Oidiopsis and mycelioid appendages. And semi-endophytic means obviously it is nothing but phylacteria and many asci per Cleistothecia. And what is the conidial stage? It will be ovulariopsis and it is having bulbous base with pointed tip. These are the key identification features which we have to remember for any examination point of view. So let us see some of the important diseases caused by the genera involved under the order Erysipelas. In case of P, the pathogen Erysippe polygony, it causing powdery mildew. That is powdery mildew of P caused by Erysippe polygony, and powdery mildew in case of cucurbits caused by Erysippe chicoracearum, and in case of grasses Erysippe graminis, mulberry Phylactinia corylea, and in powdery mildew of chilies caused by Libellula tarica, powdery mildew of apples Podospira leucotricha, and powdery mildew of roses Spirotheca panosa, and powdery mildew of lilac caused by Microspira alni, powdery mildew of grapes, very important disease, Ancinnula nicator. These are the very important diseases we have to remember every time for any competitive examination point of view. So just recall what we covered in today's lecture. So today's lecture we covered about the class Hemiascomycetes and what are the general characters, and under that what are the orders. Then Taphrina, we discussed about the general characteristics of Taphrina which produced naked asci and how the mycelium look like. Then coming to the second class Plectomycetes. In Plectomycetes order Erysipelas we covered which are causing the disease powdery mildew. The name derived from the conidial stage which giving the white appearance to the naked eye. And later we discussed about the different conidial stages identified in this powdery mildew genera like oidium, oidiopsis and ovulariopsis. And coming to the next sexual reproduction, we discussed about the different cleistothecial appendages and the key identification features for genera involved under this powdery mildew based on mycelium, conidial stage, and the number of asci present in the cleistothecial appendages. So if you like today's my video, just give the like button, and if I am going very fast, give your comments so that I will go slowly. And thank you for your keen interest in this video, and remember to like and subscribe for more videos. If you really like this video, and share with your friends. I wish you great success, health, prosperity and happiness. Thank you one and all.